what you want out of this club. You know you're nasty. Don't Uber out of my house, you call a taxi. I'm picky with my women, I'm deciding. Call me to your pivot, I'm sliding. I'm picky with my women, I'm deciding. Call me to your pivot, I'm sliding. First things first, let me get that introduction. We on the long road to self-destruction. You so in love, you wanna tell me nothing. Let me get this clear, cause I had no idea.
That's like
First, let me get that
again.
beat it up like
First,
beat it up like
I'm playing with my weed. I'm First things first, let me get that introduction. We on the long road to self-destruction. You so in love, you wanna tell me nothing. Let me get this clear, cause I had no idea. First, let me get that I'm playing with my weed, I'm just
That's in the business of making videos.
AATB, thank you. AATB Draft Talk, joined as always by my co-host Tommy Barnett, and got a special guest here, the AATBirds offensive lineman, our offensive lineman, Jeremy Bridges. I think this is is it the fourth time? I think it's, the first time guest.
Yep, that's
But
me.
we're going to talk, we're going to dive a little bit into your draft process and kind of, because you were in a Senior Bowl just wrapped up. We want to get into that, just get some stories from you, how it, molded you, everything like that going into the NFL. But the first question that I'm going to throw out to you, and I know we talked about it before, I'm going to throw it up on the screen here. This is from Mel Kiper from 2002. I know we talked about, Mel Kiper, everything, and he long arms and athletic, but struggles with power guys. That was his analysis of you. And then below you is one of your teammates, actually, Torrin Tucker, physically imposing, but needs to improve intensity. So those are two little things. But I saw yours and I had to do it. But I know you have your own Mel Kiper. I know you're not the biggest fan.
Mel Kiper Jr. He is who he is. I mean, he's just this self-proclaimed guru. I don't even know how Mel Kiper came about. Really, I don't. I need to go back and do the history of Mel Kiper Jr. because I know he was with ESPN for quite a while, right? And he's doing his draft analysis, so on and so forth, and scouting these guys, and I'm like, okay, yeah. So, but where did he come from, right? Who is Mel Kiper Jr.? Right? Has Mel Kiper Jr. ever played football? Anybody, right? Has he ever done any of these things to make him an expert on judging talent? And usually between him and Sean McVay, not McVay, what's his name?
Todd McShay.
Todd McShay. I said Sean McVay. Okay, so Todd McShay, can't blame me for that one. That's sing along, around the life, right? So Todd McShay, right? Now he's this guru. Now he used to be doing Todd McShay 2 and 3 and 4.0. Like, get out of here.
But that 2002, in the Senior Bowl, just everything just wrapped up. And I just want to get your feeling, like how did it help you? Coming from Southern Miss, I know it wasn't a huge school, but there was a lot of talent on that offensive line. I know I was texting you, and I said, "Wow, you're right," because you said in a show that we had on All About the Birds about 4 out of the 5 guys were in the NFL, and it's true. Like, how did going to the Senior Bowl help you even become even better of a prospect?
Well, of course, I had a chip on my shoulder, right? First of all, I didn't get invited to the Senior Bowl. Right, so that was probably top 10 tackle in the nation at the time, right? And all they kept saying was competition level, competition level, competition level. And they had a couple other guys they wanted to see in the Senior Bowl. All right, whatever. So my agent pulled a couple strings, got me down there. And, of course, I'm down at the proof of point at that point, right? You had all these guys coming out, Haynes out of Penn State, Dougal out of Miami. Like, you had all these big time quote unquote pass rushers. I whooped all of them, right? I whooped all of them. I made it my business to do them all in, right? Because these are guys, right? These are the guys that y'all putting up, top rank, big time, first rounders, second rounders. Yeah, okay. I got all that. Don't worry about it. And yeah, I had a big Frito-Lay Ruffles, it was there, sitting there, big ass Dorito sitting on my shoulder. So yeah, I went out there, and my mindset was I chose violence, put it like that.
But Tommy, you have another video. I want to throw that up there.
Yeah, I'll get that for you.
So we put this up there. Let me get this up for you.
Wow, boy.
Hang on one second.
I'm gonna put full screen.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get.
Yes,
So we still
indeed.
talking. Right? So this is the one I found that you were super smiley. Other ones you had a mean mug on your face.
Oh man, the boys had to struggle braids.
I found this, and this was like because you were. It looked like it was Sean Rogers. I think that's who the number 92 was, and you just told him to get over. I'm gonna, whoop your butt. It was great because you mentioned in that too. When you're on the field, he's your opponent, and you're not friends with anyone after the game. I'll handshake you, do all that kind of stuff, and all that good stuff. But in the game, you're just you're strictly business, and you're not afraid of anyone. You have no one that's no one's going to intimidate you.
Nah, that's just how I played, man. Yeah, it was. I hate to say things that are so extreme, like "oh, it's kill or be killed," or what I'm saying. I ain't trying to go to Killer Winslow like route and be like war out there. Like, but this is the game I ain't doing. Right? I smile a lot, but I tell people all the time, they're like, "Oh, you always smile." I said, "I am. I'm not smiling." Right? And when game time came, I wasn't smiling too much. You know what I'm saying? I played aggressive, I played angry, and I had a good time doing it. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't just, I was the biggest jokes on the football field. Right? I'm talking shit to everybody, cracking jokes, like literally, like with everybody, the refs, everybody. Like to hear me mic'd up is like classic, right? Because I'm just out there having a blast. So, but yeah, when it came to competition and getting it on, like it was no question. We in fight mode.
You always play that way, or is that something kind of that clicked when you hit college? You started getting a little more aggressive like that.
All like that. From the moment I stepped on the football field, from the moment I realized that this is how you have to play. Right, it hit me in high school, like earlier high school, like 9th grade year. Right, you get hit too many times, like you get hit and not doing the hitting, being aggressive. Yeah, you're like, you know what? I like giving it more than taking it. That's that just is what it is. So being an aggressor and being an aggressor, you had to have more knowledge. You know what I'm saying, and be more savvy than your opponent. So it made me study the game more. And I want to know more about it. I want to learn. I became a student. I always watched football, when I was younger, so I know all these cats, the greats, and so on and so forth. But I realized I had to play a certain way, and if you guys watched the Michael Jordan thing, what was it called? The
Last Dance, right?
Yeah, the Last Dance, right? When Michael Jordan said what he said when he put his hands up, it was like, that's the way I play. Like, you play that way. That's cool. I got a lump in my throat because I'm like, that's kind of the same way I felt. And you ain't got to play that way, right? But when I step on that field, it's, that's how it's going down.
Was there anybody like in college, coming into the league? Was there anybody that you were looking forward to, or you wanted to face, as an offensive lineman against either defensive lineman, was someone that you were looking for that you wanted to face, like someone you set your sights on?
In the league?
Yeah.
No, I just kind of took them how they came. Right, right. It was like next opponent, right? I wasn't salivating to get to nobody. It's like I'm gonna all get the same treatment, right? I'm gonna do you dirty. That's the objective.
Yeah, because there was one story like when we had Trey Thomas on, and we asked him coming to the league, and he goes, "I was a trash talker. That's what I did. I didn't care who you were. I didn't care anything. I would just talk." And he said his rookie year, they were playing against, I think it was Green Bay, and Reggie White played on the other side of him. And I think he said it was either Richard Cooper or whatever told him, don't talk trash, just don't. And he said, that's what I do. That's what I do. He goes, you talk trash, Reggie White's going to hear you, and he's going to come to your side, and he's going to show you up. So he goes, that was the one and only game in my NFL career that I was quiet. And I asked, I said, did Reggie come over to you? Did he come over to that side? And he said no. So
I don't know. Here's true. I got all kind of NFL stories, right? I met Reggie White. Had the pleasure of being able to meet Reggie White my rookie year in Philadelphia. Actually, my second year, so my second spring in Philadelphia. That's the off season I got cut. So Reggie White came out to the field and visiting, and it was like tripping because I'm like as a young guy, I'm like, hey, this is Reggie White. Like, damn, the Reggie White, Mr. himself, right? So, of course, we doing one-on-ones, and we just happen to be doing one-on-ones. And Trey sees him, and of course, first thing Trey said was, come on, Reggie, you can get some of this too. And we all was like, so Reggie being Reggie just kind of, waved him off like, I don't want nothing, but yeah, I can attest, Trey was going to run his mouth. Like, so here he was quiet. That's Reggie White, man. Like, you had any kind of wits about you football-wise, and you was watching the game and saw what Reggie was doing to people, yeah, I'm going to kick back on that. I don't want to wait there. I don't want to poke the bear.
But the other thing was I talked to him about was Bruce Smith, because Bruce Smith was at the end of the year, because Reggie and Bruce Smith are always mentioned together because they're 1-2 in the sacks. And right. Trey always said you were there in 2003. I think we played Washington. You played Washington. He was still in Washington at that time, and he said I had no issues talking to him because I was going to shut him down. And there was a clip that I showed of with Trey and everything like that, like about him, manhandling Bruce Smith. When you go up against a great player, because I know you had your battles with Jared Allen and when you were in Carolina, did you have in practice? Did you have your moments with Julius Peppers and everything like that? Like those type of defensive ends who are these all pros. Did you I would say in practice with Julius Peppers to make you better? I know these guys were at a certain level. I know you didn't look at them as being I'm my own guy. I'm gonna take control. Did it help you?
Yeah, of course it did. I had I tell people about my Julius Peppers story. When I was at Arizona, right before I went to Carolina, I admired Julius Peppers. I used to be like, man, that boy cold. So he was one of my favorite defensive ends, right? So when I got released by Arizona and Carolina picked me up, right, I was, elated. I was happy, you know what I'm saying? But in my mind, I was like, I get to go up against this cat every day. Let's see what this dude really got. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, of course, me being me, right? Me being me. I'm gonna say this is what I told Pep. This is our first encounter, right? So I walk up to him in the locker room, you know what I'm saying, to everybody, you know, a couple cats I knew from the league, you know what I'm saying? So I'm talking to cats I know. I see him. So I walk over to his locker, introduce myself. He's like, yeah, I saw we picked you up. We're glad we got you. You to help us out. So I told him, I was like, look, man, you one of my favorite players in the league, right? But he had like a down year, right? Like the year in 04, he had a down, 06, 05. Yes, he had a down year in 05, right? So I basically told him, I said, look, I'm going to kick your ass every day to the season over with. I said, I need you to be back to where you were, right? That's what I told him, right? And me and Pep used to go at it in practice, like damn near come to blows some days, right? Like, but one thing we told each other before the game, like, you know, when he gets the best all week, it should be K, right? This should be easy. And I honestly had no trouble in, you know what I'm saying, 06 when I played 14 games. I think I gave up 1.5 sacks, maybe 2 sacks that season. And I remember it was like one I gave up was in Dallas. It was like the Ellis, like the end of the game. But going against Pep, of course, it's going to raise your level, right? But I mean, when I was in Carolina, I played guard as well, so I used to go against Chris Jenkins every day. Like, ugh, right? Right? Mike Kimoyotu, right? Look, them boys was 390, 395 and 400, right? It was big in there, right? You know what I'm saying? So, and then going back to that, when I was like my 05, my third year, when I was playing guard and with the Cardinals, you know, I played against Warren Sapp in his career. You know, it ain't nothing, you know what I'm saying? We're going against somebody who's one of the greatest, you know, Hall of Famer, you know what I'm saying? He gold jacket dude. So Bryant Young, right? That's a gold jacket dude. Leroy Glover, that's a gold jacket dude. Like, so I played against these cats when I was a baby, right? They were seasoned vets, you know what I'm saying? I remember BY, Brian Young told me after the game, he was like, big dog, you're going to be all right. Man, I was like, talking about home. Like, whew, this is the BY, the man BY just told me this, and I'm going to be all right. So, yeah, man, you play against greats, you know what I'm saying? It's going to up your ante, you know what I mean?
So I think this person, Michael Joe, thanks for joining us. I think he's talking about Simeon Rice. I don't know if you've ever went up against.
I never played against Simeon Rice. I don't think I have, unless, you know what I'm saying, unless I'm missing something. But, you know, they won the Super Bowl in what, in 2000, right? Was it 02?
02. Yeah. 02.
Yeah,
I think it was like because he didn't play much late after that because he got injured or something. Because that was like his fourth or fifth year already.
And that's what I was getting at. Like, so he won the Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, and Simeon pretty much was done after that. So, no, I didn't get a chance to play against Simeon Rice. I did get to play against the great Leonard Little. People tend to forget that man's name and how menacing he was. I played against Leonard, of course, he was in my 2 years in Arizona, 04 and 05. And the times I did play tackle against him, it was a rough day. It wasn't a fun day at all, brother. And I got to play against him too because I played my first year, 06 with Carolina, right? I think I played against him that year because we played the Rams. So, yeah, man. Never got to play against him, but I did get to play against someone similar.
Speaking of those Arizona days a little bit, I was looking at that Senior Bowl roster from when you played. I saw Cliff Kingsbury's name on there.
Yeah.
Almost forget about that.
Yeah, people. I saw Cliff when he first got hired at the coaches meeting here in Arizona, and I was joking with him. I was like, "Yeah, we played the Senior Bowl together." He was like, "Yeah, sure did." I was like, "Yes, we did." I said, "Damn, I said it's crazy." He said, "You played quite a while." I was like, "Yeah." That's when I put my bid in and try to get on the staff, but I guess the slots. Yeah, it was. I look at that Senior Bowl, and for me, it makes me laugh because I got drafted in the 6th round, right? Which I mean is what it is, but it turned out pretty well. All right, 185, 6 picks, 6th round, 185th overall. Yes, sir. So it's not really a big deal to me. I played in the league 10 years. I look at the cats that got drafted in front of me. Some of these cats didn't even play 2 years, right? It's crazy. I remember how they was hyping the Williams kid up from Florida State, right? Me and him shared time during the game, so I had to play after him, right? So I didn't start playing. He started. I started playing like midway through the second quarter. And he was one of those, I don't want to play because I don't want to get hurt because I'm going to go high in the draft type. Man, this dude is trash. I think he played for 4 years, maybe, right? But I look at that. I look at all these cats that we got drafted in front of me, man, and I was like, bro, like they shows y'all know Mel Kiper Jr.
I think that I would say the best lineman out of that draft, which I think you actually played with him, Jordan Gross. He went to Carolina, top 10.
I used to hate Jordan Gross. I used to hate him because our measurables are the same, right? I was stronger than him. I was faster than him. I was more athletic than him. And for whatever reason, he got all of the fame, right? He played in Utah. I'm like, what? He plays in Utah. Like, y'all talking about my competition? No, we do play in Utah. Like, so I've said it on wax a couple times. Like, Jordan Gross deserved to be a first-round draft pick. He deserved to play his first year. He deserved everything he get. Jordan Gross is one of the hardest working students of the game. He's gonna watch film. He understands. One thing I loved about Jordan is he understood that he was not that guy when it came to being athletic. He understood that. But man, he was a technician, right? He was a technician. So for what he lacked in athleticism, he made up for by studying the game, studying his opponent, knowing situations, and just being prepared and putting himself in the right situation. And, it made him, he was a Pro Bowl, I think, one or 2 years. And he deserved everything he got, man. He's one of my brothers to this day. I love him to death. Yeah, when he was coming out, I was like, man, Jordan Gross. Like, psh.
I think like offensive linemen, when you look at offensive linemen, here's a great question by Michael again. Is it easier to move from guard to tackle or tackle to guard?
Well, it depends. It depends on the person. To be honest with you, because everybody thinks moving to guard is a cakewalk. No, it's not. Tackles are used to playing higher, right? Usually tackles don't play as high as guards. Don't play as low as guards until they engage with somebody, right? But guards play low, and the fight comes to them just like that, right? So whereas tackles have to be more athletic and dance a whole lot more, guard, if you ain't got no fight in you at guard, you're not gonna be a very good guard, right? Because that fight happens right away. Them boys is big and skilled in there. They ain't just big and fast and strong and powerful, right? And they're powerful in a short span of field, right? They're so powerful in 2 yards. Pow! It's like literally like a Mack truck taking off and hitting you. So I want to say it's depends on the person. For me, I was one of those cats that was blessed to be trained to play all positions. Shout out to Chris Konakis. He was my coach in college that really started me doing everything. I used to play center in scrimmages in college. I hated that shit, right? But he used to always tell me that if you're gonna be in the league, this is gonna make your value go up, right? And it did. Like I've started in every position in the NFL except for center, offensive line wise. And I used to play center in practice when I was out here in Arizona from 09 to 12 because the Weirds used to let me do it. So with the scout team go, I would take like 6-7 snaps at center, just cut. Right?
You got to have that emergency guy who can step in just in case.
And so you said it, got that Swiss Army knife, baby.
Yep.
And, looking at your career, so, 110 games, 55 games started, but there was one stat there that I thought was pretty interesting. 15 kick return yards. So did you happen to pick up a script and try and run it and try
first of all, I always say it's 19. I think they showed him, but
the thing is, I'm gonna go find that video and I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna.
Oh yeah,
we need the highlight.
Oh, it was nice. I thought it was nice. I made a guy miss, right? I saw. So what happened was I was gonna kick our return. Had to be. I want to say it was 08. want to say it was my last year playing. No. Yeah, I want to say it was 08 because Otah was there, right? So, and me and him was kind of splitting time because they was trying to work him in there. Oh, what a bust. But, yeah, so we were going back and forth with the San Diego Chargers at the time, and old stadium by the water. And, yeah, it was late in the game. They had scored, so if they, basically if they blew us one, and for whatever reason, they were having some success defensively against us. They tried to kick it short. Hopefully they can get, myself or one of the other guys, this is back in the wedge, to bloop the ball get out some kind of way. Kicked it to the right one, right? So they blooped it. And, of course, as the wedge setter, which is what I was, I turned around. I had my head turned, so I turned my shoulders. So I saw that damn ball get blooped. I was like, oh, my God. Here we go. All right. This could be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever, right? So it came straight to me. Where it bounced, I timed the bounce, caught it. One of my guys jumped in front of me, got a nice block, and I'm, cruising. I felt in my heart, I said, you know what? It's time for me to just go there. All right, so this guy started coming towards my knee, and I just kind of went to the ground with it, got up, and we went out and won the game, right? So, yeah, that's 15 yards. I say 19 yards, but that 15-yard kickoff return.
So did you go? You go to the coaches and say, maybe a goal line. You give me, I could be the fullback, or give me the ball. I can score.
It's always great to see a lineman score, right? Always great to see a big man get in zone. But I don't know. That wasn't really my gig, man. You know what I'm saying? I was cool with. I like mashing cats out. You know what I'm saying? I get a little deuce to glory.
Now, Tommy, we got this other clip. I want to bring this up because I know you saw it on Twitter. Let's pull it up here, and so go hit that play button.
I got it.
So it's almost like I see that video, and it's almost like you go into the kitchen and Grandma says no. You're not going to take that cookie or something like that.
Yep, that's basically what you just got. Yeah, you got served. I got a couple of those clip files. I think if you watch that How I See It on YouTube, I think they got a clip of me doing A-roll like that on the draw. Like I knocked the hell out of him, like literally, like knocked him, flipped him. So yeah, I got a couple of those. I know how that goes. Those draws are always fun. You get to lead a guy out of the field, and of course they're gonna try to do something slick and quick and just knock them on their butt.
So I want to talk a little bit, about the draft, and there's some premier offensive tackles, offensive linemen in general coming in, and we saw a lot at the Senior Bowl, watching the one-on-ones. How much do you? So if you have like the Senior Bowl and you have the one-on-ones, what do you look in terms of an offensive line prospect? Is it their feet, their hand placement? Is it a combination of both? What would you look at to say, hey, that guy, would translate doing this, or what position he could play better at? Like, what would you say, because you do know the position. You played it, plus coached it. Right. So
with the interior guys, you look for balance and stability. For every offensive line, you look for feet, right? Inside guys, you look for their knee bend, right? If they got good knee bend, the ability to take on power rushes, you just have to see them in different situations. Can they generate movement with the first couple steps in the run game? Because, of course, that's what the run game generates, literally from guard to guard. If we can solidify that, you're going to have successful runs, even on the outside, because you ain't got to worry about nothing leaking in from the back. So, yeah, guys on the interior, we're looking for power. We're looking for, of course, you want offensive linemen to have long arms, of course, so we can get our hands on guys. But you look for that stability, you look for that balance, you look for feet. And then when it comes to tackles, you look for feet, of course. They got to be able to move, but maintaining balance, getting out, because it's a skill. Like, people don't understand. We go backwards, right? We don't go forward, right? So we're in a whole nother world when it comes to, like, your feet and your mindset, because you're not trained to go backwards. You're trained to walk forward, right? So we go backwards, right? Whether it be an angle, like big angle, tight angle, small angle, vertical, right? You go backwards. And when you look at the tackles, how do they react or how do they engage at the point of attack, right? That's what you look for. And, of course, consistency with all offensive linemen, right? Does he do this more than he does that, right? So that's what we do.
Speaking of the draft, there's quite a few guys this year where everyone's kind of between, like, are they a tackle? Are they a guard? I mean, do you think there's any player that really kind of is similar to you in a skill set coming out this year or no?
Most offensive linemen nowadays are similar to my skill set, right?
Yeah.
Because when I came in the league, I was considered a hybrid. I was said to be too small, Tommy. Like, that's what I was. I was too small, like, to be a tackle. I was too
290 something, maybe?
Nah, I was 3. I got drafted, I was 3 or 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wasn't big enough, heavy enough to be a guard, wasn't tall enough to be a tackle. Like, so I was a hybrid, right? That's what they basically called me. I was a hybrid. But little did they know that this is where the NFL was headed, right? With tackles. Because you see, guys like Trey, right? You know what I'm saying? Trey was a special skill, right? He was 6'7", but he could still move, right? John Runyon, he did all right because he was so skilled. He played so low. But guys like McKinney and Loho, like these big, gigantic offensive tackles, once that new 3-4 hit, it was over. They couldn't hold up because they were so big and they couldn't move. These guys just literally running around, right? So turn the turnstiles.
You bring that up, and it's great because the Eagles at left tackle this year played Jordan Mailata, who's 6'8", 360. But he was also a former rugby player. So he has that skill set.
Whole different skill set, yeah.
Exactly. He's not that, what you were saying with Brian McKinney and Phil Loadholt and these other, offensive tackles, these huge mammoth guys. And you're right. They're going to a more athletic, being able to, be that athletic and, some can do it. And of course some can't. And you see what, who can, take a look at the Super Bowl. And we mentioned it on our show, and the offensive line, when Kansas City lost Eric Fisher and then had to move Mike Remmers, who played right tackle, move him to the left side, played Wiley, who was a guard, moved him to right tackle. Then you're plugging and playing all these different guys, and the continuity isn't there, especially on the biggest stage. The biggest game of any of those players' lives is the Super Bowl. Right. And you have to go in and try to block these guys, JPP and Dominican Sue and Vita Vea and Shaq Barrett. And what, like a mindset of an offensive lineman like that, having to move around and knowing it's the biggest game, knowing you have a quarterback who isn't 100% because Mahomes wasn't 100%, and had to run for his life. They say it. You build the trenches. That's how you win. You win the Super Bowl there's no Super Bowl winner that has had a terrible offensive line. Go through history. You will not see that. Right. So what would you say is the mindset going into a Super Bowl like that and, not playing a position that you're 100% comfortable?
Well, first of all, me personally as an offensive line coach, I'm going to make sure that my guys we're going to do musical chairs, right? We're going to do that, right? You're going to have to understand that we don't know what's going to happen during the course of the season. We don't know what's going to happen week to week. So we're going to have to figure out who's going to play what, who's going to be the best bet, the next best, the next best guy to fill that slot. So with my offensive line, it wouldn't have been no problem, right? We'd have just been shuffling in, right? So, but that's how you have to prepare your offensive line. There's no solidified position. Like, me personally, if I'm a GM and I'm looking at a guy or a scout, and I'm looking at an offensive lineman, and he can't play more than one position, I don't want him, right? I don't want him. You got to be able to play guard. You got to be able to play tackle, right? Centers got to be able to play guard. That's just is what it is. No questions asked.
Is there anything else you'd really say has changed an offensive line play since you were playing, other than just the amount of athleticism needed?
Soft. I'm just gonna be real. Not all of them, because some of them still have that old school, gritty, nasty mentality. But yeah, it's a lot of these offensive linemen, they want to be too pretty. Now, don't get me wrong, I was a pretty boy. Right, I've been like that since high school. So, but when it came to getting dirty, I had no problem with it. But yeah, that's what I see. I just see guys are too friendly, too soft. I'm like, be real with you. When Buffalo was playing, they was playing Kansas City, right? And they got in that little melee at the end of the game. And you got line flying over and pushing guys over. Yeah. Yes. Hell yes. Right? You're not going to mess with my quarterback, right? And if we go battle at all costs behind this dude, your job is to protect the quarterback. So I need that gritty nasty,
You're 100% right there because you look at early in the season when Andy Dalton went for a slide and got rammed his head into the turf. All the offensive linemen just stood there and just watched them lay motion. Nobody went after. And it brings me to when the Eagles played Washington years ago. Nick Foles got blindsided, blocked by a defensive tackle, and Peters ran over there and literally started. Them two went at it and started punching each other. You as an offensive lineman, you're to protect the quarterback. So when the quarterback gets a dirty hit, don't you feel that's
it's free reign. So we when we were playing the Saints in 2009, when I was out here in the playoffs, we got our ass mollywop. But we didn't get our ass up until that point where Kurt threw that interception and McCray cleaned his clock, right? That's the hit that was heard around the world. Kurt was ready to retire right after that hit, right? He knocked his ass out. Meanwhile, I'm over here fighting with Will Smith, rest his soul, right? Literally piecing him up, you know what I'm saying? Because me and him had faced off. I didn't hit him about 3 times. The ref sent me to the sideline. I'm standing beside Wiz, and it's pandemonium in the dome. Can't hear nothing. Wiz talking to the ref. He comes back over to me. He said, JB, did you hit him? I looked at him. I said, yeah. He paused for a second. He looked back at me and said, JB, you can't hit him. So he was like, I'm trying to keep you in the game right now. Meanwhile, Tim Hightower's on the sideline getting his ass kicked, right? Everything's going crazy. But I told Wiz, he was like, they're going to let you play. I said, you might well come get me. I said, because if I see number 93, I'm going to beat his ass. That's what I said. I said, when I see 93, if they put 93 on me, I'm going to beat his ass. I said, I ain't going to get him. I said, but if they put him on me, I said, you can stop the game. I said, because I'm going to throw in his hands. I said, he needs to be hurt behind me. That just is what it is.
And, I love this, the back and forth and the stories and everything. So looking in your timeline, you had a quick stint with Washington, and then you were cut, right? And then you went back to, I think, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? Like, Washington is, Washington. I'm not going to call them the name they used to be, but what was that experience? Because a lot of people don't know you for, having, a little stint in Washington.
Yeah, I didn't like it, to be real with you. Zorn was the coach. He was, Zorn as a head man, just that wasn't it, right? Of course, you saw how long he lasted. But the late, great Joe Bugle was the offensive line coach, right? And, the original man, the Hog, you understand, the Hog himself. So me and Joe Bugle did not get along, man. Like, we did not get along. Joe Bugle wanted me to punch with 2 hands all the time in pass protection, and I wasn't accustomed to doing that. And I started, 2.5 years at Carolina before I got to y'all. So I've had success beating top-tier guys by punching with 1 hand, right? So we and him went back and forth. Finally, one day it came to a head in the meeting room. He was his homie. Now, I'm having success. I ain't got to beat 1 time. He's steady messing with me about this 1 hand punch. I'm punching with 1 hand. You got to punch with 2 hands. Call me Bridget. Come on, Bridget. You got to punch with 2 hands. Yada, yada, yada. So at one point, he just got upset and just started snapping on me, right? So I'm clicking a pen, right? He's talking, I'm clicking a pen, right? And Chris Samuels is like, the meeting room is small, so Chris Samuels, I was sitting across from Chris, and Chris literally reached across and grabbed my hand. So I was getting ready to explode. I guess he felt like the speed was going too fast in that click, and I was getting ready to explode. And I just kind of digressed. You know what I'm saying? I fell back, and it was destined to happen. I'm glad. One of the things I'm glad about my career is I got the hell away from over there. But I don't know, it just wasn't, it wasn't a vibe at the time. Like, I'd love to go back and play from run or coach from run, right? Like, that'd be great. But as a player at that time, it wasn't. The boys was wild, man. I ain't gonna lie, that whole experience in Washington was like this. Like, it's crazy because, like, this is the NFL. You see people trying to portray on TV, right? Them dudes was wild, man. Like, I ain't gonna call no names, nigga. If you know what year it was, you know who's on the team. So them boys was wild, man. And it was funny to me just to watch and be a part of it. So I'm glad I didn't stay with it. I enjoyed my little stint.
You got to throw in one wild story. Come on.
No, I will not. There's certain things you don't do, Tommy. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Things, I done seen it all, heard it all. Like, certain things you just do not do.
Well, he's got some wild stories from his time, his rookie year. I know that. We've heard about that already. Up at Lehigh. But you were, your whole career, so your whole NFL career, what would you say to an incoming draft, a draftee or something like that? If you got to sit down and talk to a room of the offensive linemen or players in general, your time in the NFL, how would you approach them to, either help them out and avoid certain things that you went through? What would you say to them?
I would say, position-wise, to learn everything, right? As I got older, I realized that the game was so much easier to play if I knew what was going on both sides of it, right? So what I did is I'm learning quarterback checks, I'm learning things the running back got to do. I knew what pretty much everybody did on every play, right? It sounds crazy, but even routes, I started learning routes, like who's running what. Because it just made me a better offensive lineman. But okay, who's the first read, second read, third read? Okay. And I'm looking at defenses, and I'm like, well, this fool ain't going to be open, so let me get ready for a long ride, right? These things will make you a better player because they'll prepare you, right? And then as far as, like, just living outside of football, like, I'm gonna pull a card from Herm Edwards' book and say, think before you press send. Don't press send. Right? Like, this day and age, don't press send. Don't put send on your Twitter, on your Instagram, your TikTok. Don't do none of that, right? Because we see the trouble that it gets guys into. And it's like, that's trouble you don't need. You start to bring that on yourself. Teams going to start looking at you like, this dude's immature and he can't stay off TikTok and flip-flop. And, like, I got so sick of hearing about Juju Smith last year and TikTok. Like, bro, you want to be a TikTok sensation, you want to be a star receiver, bro. Like,
putting a target on your back.
All right, what are we doing? Like, you killing yourself, man. Like, all right, so yeah, that's what I tell my youngest. Like, learn other positions, soak the game up. Those are the things that are going to help you. Always keep your body in great condition too. That's one thing I never had a problem with. Like, sometimes were to get myself conditioned for the fight, point blank period. Right, so yeah, those are the things that I would definitely lace these cats with.
But I want to get into last segment. I want to talk a little bit about, so you're in Arizona Cardinals. What's something, with the draft coming up, what are some positions of need you feel that they need to go and they need to fill to make them, to take that next step, to make the playoffs? And what do you think draft-wise that they could, benefit using?
You know what?
And no, you can't say new head coach. You can't draft a head coach.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think Cliff is doing a horrible job. I think he needs to realize it's just the NFL and it's not college, and like, these are grown men, right? So they don't need phone breaks, right? It ain't about drip. It's about wins, right? Well, hopefully he's mature. He's understanding his flaws and he's making the necessary corrections so he can be a better head coach. But we definitely need a couple new offensive linemen. We need another tackle, a big-time tackle, and we can make Beecham a backup. Right? He's solid enough to be a backup. DJ Humphries, I'm still not sold on this kid. They paid him. That's their prerogative. That's their decision. But I ain't sold on this kid. So I feel like we should draft some linemen, some guys that can, again, play both positions, guard and tackle, solidify that. Definitely need another defensive tackle. We need a big-time D tackle, all right? Just a key free agent, or we just need to draft a big-time defensive tackle. Some kid that we know that's going to get it done every play, doable, that plays running downs and passing downs. Definitely got to get a shutdown cornerback, right? Pat's not going to be there, right? And Pat's old, right? And it's no knock on him, but as we get older, our strength and weaknesses change. And so, yeah. And we talked about the linebacker position. I think we're pretty good there, but we need one more, right? Or they just need to learn how to use Isaiah, right? Like the kid can play, right? He's big, he's long, he's rangy. He reminds me of Carlos Evans, right? And he reminds me a lot more of Carlos Evans. I said, what's my guy's name? I'm kicking myself. Carlos Dansby, right? I said Carlos Dansby. So he's like Evans and Dansby with that long length frame, can run, likes to hit, very smart, very athletic, and play the ball very well. So we just gotta, man, lay the kid in the right position and let him do his thing. Of course, train him to be smarter. I think there just needs to be more discipline with our team. Big time discipline. We need more discipline. Like, we got receivers, we got running backs. I mean, we can draft another running back. I don't know if King is going to stay. I don't know what he's going to do, but if you're going to keep him, sign him, pay him money. I think he's good. He's durable. He loves to run between the tackles. He's decent in the pass game. Chase Evans ain't showing me no reason why he shouldn't be on our team, except the fact that he gets a little dinged up at times. But I think we all right. I think we just need to make sure that certain positions are thicker. We need to self-correct. It ain't really got much to do with the draft for us. We need self-correcting.
So, I'm going to push this to Tommy for a question. Arizona drafts 15th, so that's their slot in the first round. Now, you heard what Jeremy said with the needs of Arizona and everything. What are some players that would fit of the needs that Arizona needs at that number 15 slot?
For corner, I like a physical guy like J.C. Horn. I think he'd fit in nice there in Carolina. If you're looking offensive tackle, maybe a guy like Christian Darrisaw could probably be there right around 15.
What schools are these cats from, Tommy?
Darrisaw, Virginia Tech. J.C. Horn, South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, J.C. Horn. J.C. Horn
He's
is Joe Horn's son.
Yeah.
And
what position you play?
Corner.
Okay.
The other guy that you said defensive tackle, and I know there was a ton of injuries this year. A lot of moving pieces. A lot of
Yeah, we can't keep Peters. We can't keep Peters healthy. Like,
no.
We might need to draft a couple D linemen.
So there was a guy that I thought, from Alabama, Christian Barrymore, who really shot up, and he's getting closer to that number one defensive tackle rating, but.
Yeah.
They could go in the second round, everything, but like looking at them, I don't want to compare them to, the Eagles, but you look at a lot of the young players and getting some more out of the young players. You said Isaiah Simmons, and being able to get more out of that guy and to be able to use them correctly. And I feel like that's something that with the Eagles this year is they didn't use a lot of their younger players correctly. They didn't use them enough. One guy is Miles Sanders. They give him 15, 16 touches a game, and yet he's your most explosive playmaker.
Right.
And, stuff like that. I understand the game plan's different, and, you have, if they're stopping the run, you don't want to run the ball more. There's different things. But when you have an absolute playmaker, and a guy like Isaiah Simmons could be a playmaker on the defense. You saw him at Clemson. He was one of my favorite defensive players coming out of the draft, and when they got him, I thought, it'd be great. But
I was satisfied.
But the problem, I feel like it's almost like the beginning years of when they drafted Hassan Reddick, they didn't use it to his strengths, and this year it seems like they started to use him to what his strength was. He had 12 and a half sacks. So it's
about half huge. Of those came against us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Giants. That's right.
Got a 5-sack day.
Yep.
So Tommy knows that name real well because he kept hitting his quarterback. But I just feel like you have to, and that's also on coaches too, to be able to put the players in the right position and use them
Right.
correctly. Because Carolina had a player, Jeremy Chin, who was one of the top, rookies, safeties.
Right.
But Simmons is kind of the same mold, can play everywhere, can play a whole, we have a comment here, Simmons is a Swiss Army knife.
Basically, right, yeah. So I said it in our podcast, Johnny, we were talking about, we stay the Bird gang every fourth game. I said it in the third quarter, going to the fourth quarter of football. Those are the things that are going to make us successful. Put Simmons on the field and use him in all different ways. The kid is so long and so rangy, he can run, right? Blitz him, drop him in coverage. He needs to be over here, he needs to be over here, he needs to be over there. They need to be looking for 48 at all times, right? So that's kind of what they need to do with him. He needs to learn multiple positions, and he needs to just be all over the field. Hell, we need to see him in defensive backfield sometime. He needs to be lined up at strong safety sometime, right? He's that talented of a kid, right? So when you got to account for this dude in so many ways, he's bound to make plays, right? So we got to put this kid, get him active, get him all over the place, train him up, make him smarter, right? So you stop getting dumbass penalties, you know what I'm saying, late hits and all that. All right, they're aggressive penalties, so I'll take it, but still, you got to have your wits about you to understand when it's time to pull back. So, yeah, I don't think draft for us, of course, it's key pieces in the draft. I think D-line and O-line is their focal points at this point. We need D-line and O-line, good ones, durable ones, cats that can play and make a difference. And we can get that, and then of course we do our self-correcting. Right, we take care of self. And I think we're gonna be all right, man. But if we don't, we're gonna be bad off.
And of course, free agency is coming up, so there's gonna be some needs that are, addressed there. So the drafting and the holes they're possibly a little different with free agency coming up next month. So that's something to watch too. I want to thank Jeremy for joining us. Talking some football, talking some draft. You can follow Jeremy on Twitter at me big.
B-I-G. But it's big, yeah.
And you also your podcast, JB and Benny Blue Review. You follow on Instagram at JB and Benny Blue Review. Anything new you guys got coming? Anything new you got coming up in the off season or anything like that? What you're gonna be talking about?
We're gonna do what we do. What I'm saying? We fish it out and we talk about it. Of course, anything that's going on hot. We got the hot topics, what I'm saying? Of course, the basketball is about to be the playoffs in about 3 or 4 more weeks. They're about to be in the playoffs. We're just gonna be chopping up about whatever. Of course, free agency is gonna be crazy. We're gonna be basically doing what you guys are doing right now. We're gonna be interactive here in the next couple episodes. So we're really excited about that. We're gonna have you guys on the whole all about the Bird Squad. Definitely for the beginning of after the draft, most likely, or before the draft, and have a big powwow like we do with the guys out here at KRSR in Arizona. So I appreciate you guys, man. My 4th visit. All right, I'll be back, and hope y'all have a good evening, man.
And you can follow. You can follow Tommy at TBarnett91. You can follow myself at JohnnyU9322. We want to thank everyone for tuning in. Everyone hitting those likes, share buttons. I want to thank Athletes Hub as well. You can follow them at Athletes Hub. But, just like I said, I want to thank everyone for joining us. And, the way I always end it, I always give a go Birds.
Go Bird. Bird gang.